with you again, looking at artifacts along Bagby Street. And today we're on the Bagby Street side entrance of the Houston City Hall, built in 1939. And we'll look at it very, very briefly. We're actually standing here between two Greek temples, the facades of which feature Doric architectural elements. And inside, the floor plans are also very similar. On the outside of what we'll look at today are the front door and the recessed entry. Directly above the grill, we see a man on a horse with another man with a bridle. The man on the horse is the Greek god Poseidon, who is possibly the intended defender of the city of Houston, because he is the god of both the sea, which is our raison d'etre, and the god of the horse, which is our other raison d'etre. So the story unfolds as this. His son, the fellow on the right, is named Bellerophon. Apparently Bellerophon has hacked off some other god, and the god said, "Well, you got to do a horrible deed, or I'm going to get you." So he goes to his father, Poseidon, and says, "Hey, I need some help, Dad." So Dad, who is also the father of Pegasus the flying horse, nice combination, rides Pegasus down through the clouds that you see there, and down through the rays of the sun. They're up in the sky, so that his son Bellerophon can use a golden bridle given to him by Athena, so that they can tame Pegasus, and Bellerophon can then ride Pegasus to go and kill the horrible Chimera. And it ends there rather nicely. Now we have some other interesting Greek reliefs. We have here the goddess Aurora. You know, the Romans and the Greeks shared their gods. Well, here is the goddess of the dawn, Aurora. You can see in her upraised hand a torch. That is the dawn creeping over the horizon. You see the light streaming down through it, and you see the clouds that she is resting upon. From her back, you see a long series of wavy lines. Those represent several of her sons, who are in fact, winds of the world. Now over here, on the left-hand side above the window, you have another lateral image. You have a fellow there named Lycurgus. He has his left arm stretched out and placed it upon a book of Greek democracy, which is resting upon an altar with its drapes on the altar. He is swearing an oath to be faithful to Greek democracy. And not only that, it goes on for thousands of years, because you see behind him some wavy stripes, and above his shoulder you can see a series of dots or stars. So you also have the stars and bars threaded into the imagery. Mr. Finger, the architect, liked to do that kind of thing. We can also look at some of the medallions of great Western civilization lawgivers. We can start with the obvious one over here in the bottom left-hand corner. That would be Julius Caesar. If you recall, he got real serious about anything he got close to. And so there you have Julius. And next to him, you have another fella. He chose to grow his hair a little bit longer. You know how those people were in those days. That would be Thomas Jefferson. He was always writing about one thing and declaring one thing or another, you know. Writing the Virginia Constitution, starting the University of Virginia. He just simply couldn't stop doing. Next to him, you find a fellow who is, well, not quite so admirable according to history. That would be the King John of England, from whom we forced him to put his seal of acceptance onto the great Magna Carta of 1215, thereby restricting his rights in favor of recognizing the rights of those he ruled. Now above him, you see another fellow who's very serious about the rules. He had 10 big rules that he was believing in. They're not called the 10 Commandments. That, of course, would be Moses, the great patriarch. And let's see, if we look directly up at the middle and the center, you'll see the Greek pharaoh, possibly pronounced Ahetatop. You can see his headpiece. That's very common among the Egyptian pharaohs. He introduced monotheism to Egypt, had a cultural renaissance. He also married a young lady called Nefertiti, whose name probably you're more familiar with, who was no slack when she was pushing women's rights either. So you see a variety of Western lawgivers here in this image. If you look at the grill in the window, this section right here, you can almost see how the city hall is built in stair-stepping sections. And you'll see how it's repeated on the various doors and even on the windows. If you were to open the door, it's closed today, you would go into first a small vestibule, which would be very common amongst your simple Greek temples. Then you would walk into a larger room, just like our lobby. Then you would walk into a smaller room, which is basically the lobby for the elevator. And then you would walk into another vestibule going out. Inside, you would see also replications of Greek columns that would be on a Doric architecture. So once you begin looking and being able to read the Greek, you can see that, oh my goodness, it's a wonderful Greek building. It's stripped classical, that's true. And there are Roman elements, there are American elements, there are Western elements, there are Macedonian elements. Inside of the floor, there's a Macedonian star of the father of Alexander the Great. There's a lot going on here.